Hey everyone, Sonya Blackstone here from She's So Creative, or if you like crochet, you can find me on Blackstone Designs. Today we're going to chat about this awesome new book that's a collaboration between Leisure Arts and Fave Quilts, and then we're going to talk about stitching in the ditch as a quilting option, which is also my favorite way to finish a quilt for the most part, and I will tell you why. So first I'm going to show you this awesome book, which you may have already seen on their page several times probably, but they did post about it earlier today too, to let you know that I would be live for the Teach Me Tuesday. So it's Quilted Wall Hangings, 11 unique projects for quilt lovers. And I actually have 2 quilts in it, which is my first book publication. Actually my first publication for sewing, which is pretty exciting too. I basically just have published on my blog before this, and otherwise most of my work has been in crochet, but I am definitely so excited about this and very honored to be a part of the book. And I have to tell you, I love every single piece that's in here. And I've never really thought of quilting as a wall hanging decor before, but everything in here is just so awesome. I mean, from the cover, and I'm not going to show you all of them because I know somebody else will probably want to talk to you about these too, and of course there's a little bit of mystery for when you buy it yourself, but I will show you the 2 that I made. The first one is it's called Mosaic, and let me go ahead and get my little, just want to have an easy page marker for you there. So that is one of my quilts that's in here, and the other one is called Staggered, which I actually did with flannel instead of regular quilter's cotton, and I did it in fun little nursery prints. So for the Mosaic quilt, I actually used, for the most part, I think this is keepsake calico fabric that I got right at Joann, because Joann happens to be my closest store for fabrics. So I used these fun, just like lightly printed cotton fabrics. And my inspiration for this really was sort of a southwestern feel. I think it just makes such a great home decor theme. So that was my inspiration behind that one. And then for the flannels, I did some that are, sorry, I'm trying to figure out which way to show you. Some fun plain ones. Whoops, sorry about that. And then I used a couple of fun little woodland animal prints because I really wanted to make it a gender neutral wall hanging, and woodland animals, they work no matter what, right? And that was kind of why I went with the greens and the yellows too. But it could really easily be swapped out for, I mean, this could even be done in holiday fabrics if you wanted, but it can be any color, so you could change out and make it pinks and yellows, or just leave the yellow out altogether. You could do more blues. So that's what's really fun about that. And you could still use the woodland animal fabrics and keep it really gender neutral. And as far as the Mosaic one, there is just so much you could do with this one also. But another idea I had before choosing the colors was to just do a plain black and white, because I thought that would be super fun as a monochrome. So yeah, this book is really awesome, and I hope you guys get the chance to check it out. So let's chat about how I finished these quilts. Both of them were finished using the stitch in the ditch method. So the reason behind quilting, as you know, or maybe some of you don't, is you have 3 layers typically. You have your top piece, which I did make. I used those fabrics from the quilt, and I just made this quick little piece. I actually have one that I finished with a border on it. And this is actually the same fabric that I had used to back the one that's in the book as well. But so you have your top piece, which is technically your quilt, right? That's the piece that like makes the biggest difference in it. It's your top, and then you have your batting in the middle, and then you will have your backing. So when you quilt, it helps to bind these layers together. So although you put a border bias on there which is technically your binding, I suppose, that helps keep everything in, your quilting on the top piece helps really fasten the 3 layers together, which is important because if you didn't do that, and especially if it was a big piece, and you threw it in the wash, then all of that, especially the batting on the inside, it's gonna roll up and it's gonna just kind of make a mess that you're not gonna be able to fix. That's gonna be on the inside of your blanket. So it's important to make sure you quilt. Another thing is to read your batting, which is your center layer, because it will tell you how far apart your stitch lines need to be. So that's an important detail, but for the most part, you can use the stitch in the ditch. And I love this method for quite a few reasons, but I think my main one is how easy this is. You can do this so simply. You just follow along your stitch lines from where you stitched your pieces together, and that's it. This is beginner friendly. This is basic sewing machine friendly. You don't have to have a long arm like quilting machine. You can have a very basic, it doesn't even have to be like quilting specific machine, just a basic beginner level sewing machine, and you can do this method and you can produce some really beautiful quilts, and you don't have to worry about how that's going to turn out for you. The other thing I really love about this is how it can accentuate your shapes. So with this is unfinished. I did not quilt this at all. I just did my top layer, and I used my like basting spray. But then if you do this, and you can kind of see how where I stitched around in the ditch of each shape, it kind of makes those squares pop out a little more. So that makes that really fun. And I like this for this because some of the quilting, I think when you get into like really like the long arm pretty quilting, that kind of becomes your central focus. And so in some fabrics, it's kind of fun if you can just keep it clean lines so that your main focus is your fabrics opposed to the intricate stitch work on the top layer. So that's another fun reason to use this method. And as you can see, I did use white so that maybe you could see my seam lines a little better and you could see what I did. I went around the border on the top and on the bottom, and then down each side piece, and then I did the cross across the middle too. And that's it. And then you can see on the back, which normally, and on the quilt in the book, I used black thread in my bobbin. But for this, I kept it white so that you could see what happens on the back side. And now these 3 layers are fastened together. And so I could go throw this in the wash, and I'm not going to have to worry. I kind of just made you a little... So this isn't exactly the quilt that I had made, but, this could be a fun, I don't know, maybe a hot pad or something. Maybe I'll throw this up on the blog. She's so creative, so that you can see exactly how I did that. So this method is also a lot like doing just a top stitch across, which this one hides your seam work too, because you're stitching down in the ditch. So you're actually going into the seam line between each piece, where you could do a straight line seam and actually go across the tops of the fabric. And so it has a similar method. It's still very beginner friendly and all of that, but you actually can see your thread marks, and that can actually add its own unique finish without being like necessarily too fancy, not covering your fabrics, but also you can do that at home. So it's a similar method, you just wouldn't go along the ditch necessarily. So this is National Crochet Month. I'm sorry, I'm so used to crocheting. That's in March. This is National Sewing Month. And so that's actually the perfect time for this book to come out, for us to talk about it, to learn about different quilting techniques. And I really think that you guys should check this book out. I think you'll really love it. Quilting as wall hangings, just what an awesome idea that I don't know how it ever escaped me to see this before, but It's definitely, there's a lot of really cool, I'm going to show you one that I just can't get over. And it's not mine to really show, but I want to show you. Like, how awesome. Oh, I'm sorry, my light's getting on there, but you know, like, fantastic. So there's some really great stuff in here. The other thing I wanted to tell you guys about that I happened to notice while I was scrolling Leisure Arts page when I was getting ready to come live is that they're actually having a giveaway, and it's called September Stunners. So this book is a part of that giveaway, along with some diamond art kits, crochet books, knitting books, and punch needle and home decor books. So there's 7 books in the giveaway and 2 diamond art kits. So definitely go check that out because that's pretty awesome too. And you could win this book, which would be awesome because you will love it. I think that's probably everything that I had to chat about with you today. So I hope you learned something cool about quilting, and if you've ever been afraid to sew before and maybe that was something intimidating for you, there are options so that as a beginner, you've got nothing to worry about. You can still quilt it yourself. If you're like me, I live very rural, so I don't have quilting shops close by that I could take it to, and I don't own a long arm machine. So for me, it's really great to know that there are options like this. Of course, there are other options that you could check out. You could easily probably YouTube or Google quilt as you go. So I could have gone and quilted the pieces separately before attaching. With this, I guess it would probably be easy to quilt because it's such a small piece. But a big quilt, you could always use that method too. So that's something worth checking out also. This book actually has a lot of great information in it. The back, of course, includes instructions on how to press it, how to quilt it. Choosing your batting is in here. Free motion quilting. Making a hanging sleeve. So because these were actually wall hangings, you might want to put something on the back side to hang it on the wall. Where for me and the quilts that I made, I left them so they could be clipped, or you could even do like the 3M type sticker. I can't think of what I'm trying to say, but you know, like double-sided tape, anything like that. I didn't because I think that it would be fun to be able to, like, say once a baby gets old enough and you can take the nursery wall hanging down, the staggered one that I did, and then you would be able to have a quilt, you know. So I didn't want to put any like hangers or anything on the back for that reason, for that one. And then kind of the same with the other one, I guess, because I figure, whoops, that's not the picture. But I figure if you pull it down, then you could just snuggle with it on the couch or something, and you don't have to have the loops on the back. But yeah, so that's in the back. It teaches you how to add those. So there's some great information in the back of the book as well. Adding binding and how to make your tape, which is great because I did make my own for this, for the mosaic one, not this necessarily, but the one in the book. I did make my own, and it's really great to have a little handy guide that tells you how to do it. Because for me, no matter how many times I make it, I always have to refer back to something for whatever reason. So yeah, check out the book. You'll really love it. And thank you for joining me today. If you entered the giveaway, good luck. See you later.